paper.
You stupid gangsta. All right. Hello, everybody. This is State of Exile Podcast, episode 9. Today, it's called Throwback with Gankstaboo and Baker, some of the originals from the Path of Exile scene. So thanks a lot, guys, for tuning in. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having us here, man.
Hell yeah, I'm so stoked.
And before we get going, I want to just talk about a little, some introductions here. My name is Zeno. What I do is I host these podcasts, I have a good time doing it, and I fight for the community. I'm here for the community always. So thanks for tuning in. And we got Terry here.
Terry here. I'm known for being a passionate and dedicated racer. I just love to help out and share general PO knowledge with everybody.
All right, and then Hedgie. Sorry.
Hey, what's up, guys? I'm mainly known for playing, the new hardcore leagues, doing challenges, making money in the economy, and having like a pretty extensive PoE YouTube channel. And
Gangsta, what are you most known for, man?
I'm known for getting really far in the game and then fucking dying. So, nah, for real though, I'm known for playing bow builds, a lot of bow builds, different types of bow builds. I'm just trying to branch out, but that's just mainly my main focus because I've been in, melee characters all my life, pretty much in every other different game. So hopefully we can branch out on that here soon.
And Baker, well-known guy.
Hey guys, yeah, I'm pretty much known for going no life last summer and kind of trying to hit 100 on hardcore, streaming it a lot, and yeah, kind of taking a break where everybody thought I died or something, and I'm back to the podcast, to the streaming scene, I hope.
It's awesome. How long have you been back for now, Baker? Actually playing the game again?
Well, I was playing all the time, basically. I took like 2 weeks where I played Diablo 3 with some friends, but else I was just online all the time. I just didn't want to stream because I knew I would, get sucked into it and do way more than I should.
Awesome.
But I had to focus at university, basically.
All right, so he never actually really quit. It's good to know. All right, so...
Yeah, it's also worth noting he was the very first 100 in a hardcore league. It's very, very impressive.
Yeah, definitely.
That's crazy.
Are you sipping a shot?
It was so
No, it's
impressive
coffee.
that I was at work away from the game, and I get a call on my work phone, and I'm like, hey, thanks for calling Lasertron. This is Chris. And like, is this Gankstaboo? I was like, yes. They're like, we just wanted to let you know that Baker hit 100. I was like, what? Like, how do you find where I work?
Oh, that's amazing.
That's hilarious, man. Yeah, you were most of the way with me, bro. I remember.
Yeah.
Damn, I didn't even know that.
Times.
So let's go into some thank yous. I want to thank Grindy Gear Games again for supporting our podcast. It's awesome that you guys support the community and branch out to everybody like this. I want to thank Twitch again for allowing these kind of podcasts to even happen. Without you guys, we'd have to find some alternate way to do it. I want to thank all the viewers and the mods. You guys are awesome. Keep coming by. And we appreciate your support. It means a lot. And I want to thank Paranice for the overlay that you see here. Before we get going, I just want to state that this is a podcast for Path of Exile. You can download this game for free, and it's free to play as well. Pathofexile.com, and it's also found on Steam. It's a free-to-play game. It's awesome. It has microtransactions in-game if you want to support the company, but that's what they're all about. All right, so today's podcast, we're going to be talking specifically weapons. Each person was designated a weapon or a set of weapons that they want to talk about. It's not going to be lecture format. It's going to be more of a... They're going to say their tidbit for about 2-3 minutes, and then it's going to be an open discussion about it. Also, we're going to be doing a live Q&A at the end, question and answer session. If you guys have any questions you want to ask anybody in particular, just do @Gangstaboo. Why is your hair so awesome? No, but make it related to the game, @Baker, what's it feel like to be the first level 100, hardcore? Those are great questions. So it'd be awesome if you guys could keep asking questions throughout the entirety of this podcast. We're going to put them into a Google Doc and then talk about them afterward. So without further ado, let's kick off our weapon segment. Terry, what weapons do you got for us today to talk about?
All right, so the first weapon is daggers. And daggers, to me, they're very powerful end-game weapons, whether or not they're with cast on crit or like any crit attacker build. Like there's been extremely powerful builds brought today in Path with low life spectral throw, like crit flicker, just one shot like everything in high level maps, just unreal clear
In
speed.
specific, we're talking attack daggers here, not spell daggers.
Yes, attack damage daggers, like for high crit, high speed, with crafted ambushers. So there's a crazy ambusher, Loathbane, 500 in physical DPS. So there's quite like the selection for daggers, and daggers, they're just super powerful scaling with crit. They have like high base crit. There's faster and slower daggers, like with different base crit and different phys damage. So depending on the job that you want to do, itemizing in a dagger is like speed crit or damage and crit. But like for dagger and dagger experience, like my experience with the daggers, it's been mostly low life spectral throw or cast on crit with summon raging spirit. But like how have you guys played with crit daggers and their crit chance scaling?
In all honesty, daggers are the strongest one-handed weapons in the game right now. Excluding uniques, I think they're just, if you get that perfectly rolled dagger or close to, it's just unbelievable the amount of damage you could pull off because the way how crit and crit multi work. They're just, there's none better.
Well, to be fair, I mean, what makes Dagger successful are their efficient nodes. That the wheels that they have are so godly. Like they're just blessed with ample amount of crit damage. It's all in a great, efficient area, and that's why I feel like the meta is daggers or bust almost because of a skill gem, and mainly I wanted to blame the efficiency on spectral throw, but I'll let you guys chime in on it a bit before I talk about spectral throw and how I feel about it with daggers.
For passives, there's like those 3 passives that for a dagger build, they're like the go-to passives. I feel there's Night Stalker from the shadows and Adder's Touch, and like those 3 passives alone, that's so much crit and so much crit multiplier. It's like those 3 passives, that's like all your weapon damage and all, like so much crit. Whether or not you're doing with cast on crit or like an attack build, those 3 keystones alone are so powerful for any crit dagger attacker.
Did you know that Adder's Touch is what 66% crit multi? It gives you more crit multi than the 3 crit multi wheels. You know, the 25%, 10 and 10. What is that? It's 20. It's ridiculous, and it gives you the bonus damage too, the poison damage, which it's only really good with Beanos in my opinion.
Yeah, it's a nice little bonus, that's for sure. The Beanos just scales the damage over time even more.
So Baker, what's your experiences with daggers?
Well, basically, I played low life spectral throw now, and like the past 4 months, kind of on my witch, which was split arrow before, and I feel that the clear speed is just basically insane, and just in general, I really think daggers are the best weapon.
Right
but
there?
in the new league, do you hear me?
Yep.
I think that's me.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, but the problem is in a new league, I mean, this time in Invasion, Havoc got a pretty sick one that I think Vithium crafted, and that opened it up for them, but usually it's really hard to get to a good dagger. Basically, if you don't get Beanos, there's nothing much you can do in new leagues, I feel. So it's something that's really rare.
It can be quite the investment to get like the crit or the attack speed or the appropriate base that you want to build off of on a dagger.
Well, obviously, from a crafting perspective, it's miserable because you can roll all the spell damage, mana regen, int, mana, spell crit. I mean, it goes on and on. So you need to be filthy rich to craft that perfect dagger. But Beanos is such a solid unique, and it's only 232 DPS, but it has such a high crit base, local crit base, that it's still possible to get that next rare because it's only 232 DPS. It doesn't have attack speed on it. You can easily replace Beanos, with just a 300 DPS dagger if you have the money sitting around.
Yeah.
All right. So since we have, I was just going to say, since we have some of the 2 people that play the game, in its infant stage, I want to talk about what do you guys think about daggers before and after spectral throw, because to me, I feel like that was the pivotal switch. Like, for my opinion,
when it become...
Oh yeah. Go ahead.
Sorry, go on. Sorry. I meant like in the past, it wasn't that popular. Just
right
daggers.
And I feel like, as far as when it comes to game balance, I feel like the the game before Spectral Throw was balanced, because I'm all about, if you're going to be melee, you're going to be taking, the front line hits. You're going to be in really like a lot of sticky situations. So using stuff like Reeve or Cleave or whatever, dual strike, double strike, all this stuff, daggers, I feel like were balanced. Yeah, multi-strike.
Don't
all
forget
that stuff.
Cyclone.
Yeah, even Cyclone. Like anything, the dagger efficiency nodes were on point, I feel like. Because you were in melee, you should be rewarded for doing high amounts of crit damage. But when Spectral Throw was introduced, I think it completely changed the meta. And I feel like what was once a melee build is now better than any ranged build. And I don't think it should be that way. I think it was unintended. I'm not sure. How do you guys feel about that? Spectral Throw and the daggers, like essentially melee characters becoming the supreme range character.
Well, let's talk about
But
that.
they're also a hybrid too.
For like efficiency,
Right.
I think Spectral Throw like just puts almost any other melee like build together to shame. Like for efficiency and like safety, just in general, like your clear speed. But there is Flicker, which I think can also perform almost as well as Spectral Throw. But like the other melee abilities, I just feel like something will just be much better, and that's kind of Spectral Throw.
You say Flicker, but
Well,
Multi-Strike, I think, came out a month before Spectral Throw. Or maybe like 2 months before Spectral Throw. It was like, came out in August, I think, Multi-Strike. And then October was when Spectral Throw came released. So really, Flicker didn't have time to shine in desync and all those other associated problems with it. Then Reeve, that came out about the same time as Multi-Strike, right? Maybe a little bit after. So Reeve really never had its chance to shine either.
afterwards, yeah.
So really, it's Spectral Throw just took the cake, because the other ones, like Reeve, when it came out, everyone was like, "Screw this ability, it's not even good." And then it took a while for it to catch on.
I mean, Spectral Throw, when it came out, it also was like it was the strongest for races as well. At least for noobs like me. Like I did races and suddenly I could like get decent spots in the races just because of Spectral Throw. Even when I muled it to my shadow or whatever I wanted to play. So
Spectral Throw
I mean
is
they
really
nerfed it
fancy.
afterwards, but Spectral is really strong. Also the
Yeah,
thing is how it works on Reflect. I feel like since it's usually a lot of smaller hits, like you basically can't one-shot yourself with Spectral Throw compared to other builds where if you use Frenzy on a CI crit split arrow, for example,
Yeah,
you can just
exactly.
one-shot yourself easily. But on Spectral Throw, that never happens actually. If you pop your flasks right, there's not much you can do to kill yourself on Reflect.
Yeah, with like LMP,
Yeah.
it's a lot more manageable for sure. The mitigation.
And
coming
not only
back.
that, because it can hit multiple
Exactly.
times, so it's smaller hits opposed to Frenzy, which is that one big beefy hit. So in terms of Reflect, you're rolling. If you're rolling more smaller hits, yeah, you're going to get hit more, but you're going to be getting hit for less, which makes Spectral Throw even better. And then life gain on hit. Or Frenzy, it's just life leech.
Or physical
But-
life leech, which is really strong at the moment in general, I would say. Which benefits
Yeah.
all the low life builds, of course,
Yep.
on Blood Rage.
Even just talking about like the Reflect, and there is a delay. You can actually control, like you're like, oh, I accidentally fired into a Reflect pack. You can actually move yourself so that you don't take the other ramifications. And I feel like
Exactly.
another thing that makes Dagger so strong is the fact that you can use Whirling Blades, which is arguably one of the best
Yes.
movement skills in the game. And so you have
Yes.
your best DPS, you have like shooting off screen, doing insane amounts of DPS, and then moving really, really, really fast. I mean, there's not many downsides to using daggers. It's hard to argue to not use it. And I feel like the game completely shifted, and I would like melee people to do more damage up front, up close, like PP AoE. And I don't know. How would you guys fix the gap between melee being strong and range with Spectral Throw?
Maybe just other abilities brought up to par with Spectral Throw. Maybe have like more like melee focused benefits from like those abilities or from passives. Like where Spectral Throw, nothing with melee works with Spectral Throw, so gives players something that's melee like specialized to have incentive or make a player want to use that with melee.
Yeah, but with Spectral Throw already out in the game, like how do they go about balancing it, or like
The only way I
making
can
it not
really make it that feel you're talking about, that whole ranged, you feel, when you're melee, you should be rewarded. Well, Spectral Throw gives you an insane range. Maybe make it so projectile speed doesn't affect it. But that's just like a freaking over nerf. I mean, it's like the only way I could think of, like, to bring it down to the whole melee aspect.
So do you think...
Give an effectiveness on projectile speed, make it so it's like 50% effective. I don't know. It's just a pain in the butt. Like, as long as Spectral Throw exists in its current state, even after the nerf, end game, it's still the same old Spectral Throw it always was.
So it sounds like the game after Spectral Throw should be you should change the dagger nodes itself instead of nerfing Spectral Throw.
You should either buff melee or make it so you don't have such high survivability when you're at range. Because Spectral Throw is such a go-to because you could kill things off the screen, where melee you literally have to be in their face. If you're in melee range, you're gonna take a lot more damage and have a higher risk of dying.
How they did like the effectiveness with life gain on hit with lightning arrow, maybe have like reduced effectiveness with like Spectral Throw in some relation to like leech or daggers.
That's a good point, because like what I was thinking about casters in general when I thought about the podcast was casters have a really big leech problem, and introducing something like leech effectiveness into the game would maybe be a good solution to it. Like, for example, if Free Spools had a leech effectiveness of 2, so it gets multiplied by 2, or whatever. Yeah, something like that.
But at the same time, in Spectral Throw's instance,
easy to get leech as a...
That's actually a really good idea, because if you make leech effectiveness, you could bring back old life leech, and then something like Spectral Throw will have the effectiveness of what... That would be really, really good, man.
That, for example, or like Spectral Throw could have like, let's say even you could introduce like effectiveness for supports, even like, let's say Spectral Throw only benefits 0.7 or 70% of the supports, or something like that. You could bring it into many parts of the game, I feel. So it's maybe the next
make the gem change its supportability per gem.
Well,
exactly.
It already has a damage effectiveness, which means things like added lightning and things like that are reduced. But the things without that aren't like added damage.
But the project speed, as you said, for example, and stuff like that.
Yes, that's actually a really good idea, Baker. Coding nightmare, but a good idea.
Yeah, I have no idea if that's possible or anything, but I just feel the game gets like has come to the point where people will always find a thing to get the cookie cutter build kinda out of it. Whatever they do, whatever gets buffed or nerfed, there will be one thing that's the strongest at the moment, and like you need more layers to kind of get a difference between the gems, maybe, or to balance them more right, because just nerfing the gem won't do much if you have like all the auras running or stuff like that.
Or all the multipliers, like physical projectile damage, things like that.
Exactly, yeah.
That makes sense. All right, so that's the up and up on daggers. They're just obviously the go-to. It's pretty obvious. Everyone knows that. Anyone who plays this game knows that daggers are just amazing. Crit multi-scales so well. Anders Guile makes it even better for Spectral Throw, things like that. Let's hit into the next segment. Hedgie, I'm going to get into Gangstas, because Gangstas kind of similar, as well as mine. And then I want you two, Hedgie and Baker, to go next to each other, because you guys are pretty much talking about the same weapons, just different styles of that weapon. So with Gangsta, your topic today is
bows and quivers. I think I'm just going to throw them all together because they correlate so much. What I want to talk about is like the graduation of bows, though. I mean, first it started out thickets. Thickets were, the prime rib out there, Tri-Elles from high physical, the +3 thickets, everything. That was just the thing. Then, they came out with Lion Eyes. Lion Eyes was awesome. Everybody wanted Lion Eyes. Then Lion Eyes started killing people. So then they, created the implicits on, Harbingers and stuff like that. Now, Harbingers are the crit bow. They're so slow. So that completely dumped thickets out of the loop. Nobody cares about thicket bows anymore, which they were the best bows out there for crafting. I remember back in the day selling, high level 76 thickets for like 10 chaos a piece, just like because people wanted to craft them because they were trying to get that GG bow. And then it's like, for instance, Wind Ripper, that completely obliterated Tri-Elles thickets. They're no more. Voltaxic, I definitely want to hit on Voltaxic because I feel like it's underrated. I feel like if people do it correctly, it could be some of the best specs out there. For instance, CI power charge on crit, Voltaxic lightning arrow, I think would be just completely insane. Obviously you would need the quiver, and the quiver I want to talk about is Soul Strike. I haven't done much playing Xeno. You have, right?
Yeah, Soul Striker.
With Soul Strike.
It's amazing because it gives you the implicit crit, which didn't exist before in a quiver, and it also gives you the chaos damage. And obviously, if you're going a lightning strike, lightning type base build, your blood rage isn't going to do much for leech at all because you have barely any physical damage. But the cool thing is this new quiver gives you energy shield cooldown recovery, increased of 150%. So this is the first time ever you could see a build where these nodes are actually useful, and it's about a 1.5 second cooldown if you get every single node in the tree. I think it's like 205% plus the 150, or maybe I'm just saying too much. I don't remember. But when I tested it out, it was 1.5 seconds about where I didn't take damage and it would just recharge. So it was better than it's like you're saving yourself a socket on life leech altogether.
Yeah,
it's legit.
What Trizek said right there, it's either Wind Ripper or Bust. I highly agree with that because you go Wind Ripper for Ellie, and then for crit builds you go Harbinger. So that makes everything else null. Like nothing else exists other than those two types of bows. So I feel like if they throw some buffs to some things, like I really want to see this. I want to see the separation of long bows and short bows. I want to see that coded everything. The passive tree changed. Long bows have higher crit chance, higher physical damage. Short bows have low damage, but wicked high attack speed, and stuff like that. And then obviously the passives helping those two things. Another thing I think people are afraid of playing bow builds is there's no movement skill. You have to swap to Leap Slam or swap to Whirling Blades, whatever you need to do. I feel like if they added a disengage, exactly. I feel like if they added a disengage gem, going back to WoW, Hunter's disengage, I think that would be super awesome. Obviously you'd still want to move around with, Leap Slam or something like that. But if you add the disengage gem, it's a get out because, for instance, Cole's gonna, pull you in, disengage, pull you out right there, and you're out of the damage area. It takes you right out of melee, which I think would be super strong.
Yeah,
or vault. Yeah, exactly.
Bringing up that one.
Crazy.
You know what? I want to piggyback on your short bow, long bow. There's no one-handed bow. Okay. And then a lot of action RPGs, there's that one-handed bow or pistol or something, so you can wear a shield.
You could do crossbows, one-handed crossbows, and shield.
Exactly. And you can make that one-handed bow similar to that of daggers. Just don't make the nodes as crazy efficient as the current dagger nodes. And then you can have your two-handed slow crit bow, and then you can have your fast short bow. Something like that. You can make tons of builds with that. I would love to be able to block on a bow without using the rear guard or whatever it is. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
That quiver with block on it. I think that would increase the survivability. Maybe with block chance you won't need that disengage. I don't know. Just some sort of way where you're standing still. You should be rewarded for standing still. Yeah, your damage is high, but you have no movement when you're using a bow.
I think people are just scared to play bows, which is why not a lot of people do it. And I think they're underrated as well. I mean, I've played bows to end game multiple times, and every time you get to end game, I feel like I'm okay. I feel like I'm just as tanky. I'm just as, obviously it has a lot to do with life leech. You want to have high damage in order to get your life back. And I think that would help. And if people just, work on balancing bows or balancing their builds with their damage, like as far as like being as tanky and then having the high damage still, they would live and they wouldn't be afraid to play bow builds, and it wouldn't just be like a soft core thing, or if you have money, you can do this. A guy earlier asked, is there any playable in late game without getting a 6-link chest or bow? And yes, there is. I've played late game with 4 links. I've played late game with 5 links. It's 100% possible. You just can't do, Ubers. You can't do Atziri, nothing like that. But late game is definitely possible. You can grind. You can still, Anthology until you one-shot yourself. You can still play, and it's 100% playable with 4 links and 5 links.
Touching up on what you guys said. I think one of the problem with bows is like there's no like defined line when you're progressing with bows until you kind of reach end game. Then you got like your thicket and your harbinger. But until then, it's like bow every 5 levels, or then like every 4 levels, and it's just like, oh, I get to use this bow next, and it has different speed or like a little bit of different stats here and there. It would be nice if there was like a bit more option.
Yeah, it's just all bows are clumped together, whereas melee you have multiple options, two-handed you have multiple options, and spellcasting you have 4 different options.
And I think with the separation of long, short, crossbow, that would really open up a lot of leveling, like different types of leveling specs, that would branch out on poison arrow. You can do puncture, chain puncture, chance to flee builds with like really high crit, high physical damage, like bows at a low level. When I'm leveling, I do the whole grove bow, highborn bow, royal bow, thicket bow, and then my endgame bow. Yep. Yeah, exactly. I scale the fast ones the whole time. And I feel like people need to take advantage of leveling physical. Don't level Ellie with bows at all. Well, do the rustic recipe.
With the addition to multiple bows per se, or different types, this will spectral throw. This are one of the main reasons why you don't level with bows, because of spectral throw. And 2, racing. Nobody uses a bow in racing at all.
But just imagine if you had Ferrandis and a one-handed crossbow.
Yep. What's your take on it, Baker?
Speed. I have to say something about the point that you brought up with it being pretty expensive, or you don't have many options. To be honest, what I felt was weird this time in Invasion is that basically the price of Lionized Glare just dropped to the ground and got, I don't know, it's like 1 or 2 exalts, I think. I heard.
It's 20 chaos right now.
Yeah.
Exactly, like it's terrible. But to be honest, I would know few builds you could play nowadays, like especially like with items like Alpha's Hall, you could go Ellie, because it's pretty fast, you can still crit a bit. No problem, and it's a really solid bow for that, because you don't have to pick up Resolute Technique, you save a lot of points. It's a really good build and a really strong build, I feel. As well, until I got my Harbinger in Hardcore, I played CI Split Arrow with a Line Ice, and just popped the Granite, whenever it was Reflect. And to be honest, it was not shabby. It was like, I don't know, 14k split arrow or something, chain on a 5-link.
That is not bad at all.
But you also,
of course, I ran a lot of auras and everything, but.
Well, you also have to have the ability to be able to roll your pots correctly, time them, all that stuff. That takes a lot of end game playing to get to that level of skill.
And we had the wall pact back then, of course. I did
exactly, yeah.
But still, like, I mean, the Ellie one, the Ellie bow would still work 100%, I think. And I think Lando even played it to like level 97 or 98 on Invasion, I feel. It's a really strong build with a lightning foil.
Something
same thing
not expensive, what I mean.
Build.
Like it's 10 exalts or something.
There is a positive about bows we haven't discussed yet. The fact that you can easily get 100% pierce, I think, is overlooked quite a bit. I don't know if...
Yeah.
Like, the fact there's that 35% node, and then pierce gem, but you have the 10% implicit pierce on a quiver now, and you also have projectile weakness. Projectile weakness is such a good curse. I think it's underrated, and the fact that you can easily obtain 100% pierce with that one node and projectile weakness is pretty damn sick. What do you guys take on pierce?
With pierce,
I think it's overlooked as well.
I wanted to talk about bows with pierce, and projectile weakness is definitely good for the solo, but it doesn't have very good synergies with group play, and I think that's where it falls short. Especially, your group is not going to want you to cast proj weakness unless you are by far the strongest player and you can carry the group itself. But my main beast with bow was just the lack of a single target outside of frenzy. And I wanted an attack like guided arrow or something where it benefited from pierce. Like the go-to support gem that you could get would be pierce. That way you can go through multiple times. I'm not sure how I feel,
like a ricochet?
Whether it be homing. Yeah, maybe a ricochet, but I would rather go through the same target. So like if you shoot Brutus and you have the pierce gem and you have a good pierce chance, you go back and forth through Brutus however many times and it goes off your pierce chance, maybe with like a maximum. And then the other thing I had was the cost. I feel like the most expensive bow build, put it up against the most expensive wand or spectral throw build, and it just gets shattered, obliterated. I think the crit multi nerf on the quiver was kind of like uncalled for. It could have kept the quiver and it still would have been fine. I think the highest deeps I've heard is like 30k crit split with a Wind Ripper or like a Harbinger, and that's pretty good. But it has nothing on the clear speed of daggers and wands at the moment. But I feel like their cost of it is good, really really high, and the effectiveness could be better. I mean, that's personally, I feel like bows are just generally outside of Lionized Glare. Lionized Glare is definitely a cheap, great way to get yourself, into 90s or whatever. But once you want to, clear like speed clear those 77, 78s, or Etziri runs or whatever, you really need to push that crit and that crit multiplier. And I don't feel like bows does very well with the cost effectiveness. They can be very, very effective. I'm not saying that they're ineffective. I'm just saying the amount of currency you put into a build and what it's going to do versus, a crit dagger build is very, very different.
Oh, yeah. And to clarify, Gankstaboo, in Diablo 2, there's a skill called Guided Arrow, and you shoot it, and no matter where you shot it,
Very
it would
familiar
guided.
with it, yeah.
And it was a
I
little
used to
bit
kill
broken.
Diablo with it.
Oh, it was really broken with the pierce. It would just keep piercing and piercing. But if you put a cap on it, man, that was so fun. I would love that.
To be honest, guided arrow in general has to be introduced because at the moment, like bow builds in PvP is pretty hard to pull off without it. I feel because, I mean, I saw people do it with EA, but
EA and Puncture are the two big ones right now, right?
EA Puncture with Puncture Trap is really strong. It's actually one of the strongest PvP builds. Yeah, it is very, very hard.
Yeah,
to
but
beat.
I mean, in general, like just the guided arrow would be something really good for PvP and PvE in the end, because you could really bow skills are basically off-screening. And I remember when we played with Gankstaboo and like on minus max Magira or whatever, and he was like, "Am I hitting her? Am I hitting her?" Like franzing into her from off-screen. Like it's really hard to pull off at the moment. Basically,
what do you think?
Go ahead.
What do you think about a drawback with the guided arrow thing being you can't do elemental damage? So you cannot use a guided arrow that will chill, shock, and just no escaping the elements. But if you are limited on not ever doing elemental damage, what do you guys think about that?
If they added like an increased stun chance, I think it'd be pretty good, because that's what physical is best for. High stun. Put on like
I think
vulnerability
that'd be kind
with
of OP. Like for instance, off screening, and okay, hold on, I'm just gonna freeze this person right here, off screen, frozen. Then you can just walk up to him, obliterate, done.
But he's saying it can't apply status effects.
No status effects.
So like,
Right.
Okay, yeah, that'd be really cool. Then I think that's very fair.
and then no elemental damage, meaning your hatred does nil, does nothing.
Yeah, because
I
if it's
think
truly
that's
going to
too
be,
far.
if it's truly going to be homing, you just can't have bowers like off-screen stuff and then chill, shock, and burn. Constantly. You just can't escape it. That would just be way too broken. But
I think
I feel like if
status
you
ailments is perfect though.
Okay, that's cool.
All right. So, anything else you guys want to talk about with bows? Terry, you got anything?
I just
Somebody
thought about
mentioned
the
some-
cast on crit, drill neck, pierce
Drill neck?
build, which
Drill
was an
neck.
idea. I never heard of anybody doing it, but I've talked about it a bit. But getting 100% projectile damage with pierce for like fireball, arctic breath, cast on crit with a bow, I think that could be pretty crazy.
I don't know. Like drill neck, you don't know about it because it's an ambush only quiver right now. Gives you bonus pierce, and
Oh, yeah, I'll link it.
you get increased projectile damage based on your pierce chance. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I really
I don't
hope
know
that
that one.
there's some kind of, I don't know. I would like to see the crit multi on the quiver reverse, because I don't feel like it's warranted, and they need a little bit more. They need to push their end game, top of the line, every slot mirror build. Like it needs to be pretty effective. I feel like it's not as effective. It's kind of disheartening knowing that a melee weapon, like a dagger, just completely romps your what is supposed to be a very powerful ranged character.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Don't bows
DPS
roll the
skill.
same stats of like a one-hander? Not even like a two-hander? It's a
In some
two-handed
cases,
weapon, but it rolls one-handed type attributes.
Their base damage is very underwhelming.
Yep. Figured as much. All right, so
well, if you
go ahead,
if we
Baker.
talk about mirrored bows, like for example harbingers with like nearly 450, 500 DPS, I mean it's enough. But the problem is just in general compared to Spectral Throw, the scaling is just you can't get it up that high, and without killing yourself as well. Like it's way more dangerous.
So let's go into the next segment, and we're going to go into mine. This is going to be claws. Straight up, claws overall, I think they're the weakest one-handed weapon. And the main reason is they used to be all right. Like, life leech, you take back some of the damage for increased life leech. It was cool, They scaled really well. But then the nerf to life leech kind of left claws in a really weird position right now. First off, the nerf to life leech made it so that basically you can roll this really, really nice weapon, but the implicit doesn't really do nearly as much as it used to, and you might as well go daggers. And the reason why you might as well go daggers over claws is, despite daggers being able to roll spell damage, spell crit, and claws only being able to really roll in mana regen. Granted, daggers are harder to roll. The claw nodes are so inefficient. You look at the claw nodes versus the dagger nodes, and it's just unreal. Claws also, they can have almost I believe they have the same local crit as daggers, but nobody messes with them because of how inefficient the claw nodes are. And another thing to talk about with claws is they have a up to like a level 48 claw that's a little bit slower, but the tiger's paw I want to talk about more specifically. It's a level 46 claw, and it has 15 life gain on hit. Currently in the game, there's no level 68 or 70 claw with life gain on hit that would be ideal for elemental builds or even life builds, where the current situation with life leech, you're like, I want to just go life gain on hit. You're going to have to find a level 46 claw, craft it perfectly. Like, it's really hard to find that eye level 78, 79 tiger's paw and get it to where you need to be. And really, 15 life gain on hit is not nearly as nice as, a 6% life leech or a 3% life leech. I do think there needs to be an endgame claw with life gain on hit on it. What do you guys think about claws? Let's hear it.
Sounds like there's a missing claw.
Yeah.
Has anyone even attempted to craft the perfect claw? And I mean, I'm pretty sure it's not, because it wouldn't be worth it, especially with the leech nerfs. I mean, that was their niche. And I feel like with, the whole, you can only get, the one leech off of an AoE pack. That's what really, is going to make or break that specific implicit mod. And I don't know pretty much any cool claw builds other than people using Bloodseeker, as an offhand just for the mod. Outside of that, it's kind of underwhelming. Definitely is.
But it's a really strong build with that one.
Yeah.
Right.
But then you have the argument, it's Terry Gloves, screw the damn Bloodseeker,
But true, but you could, for example, if you get a Bloodseeker and DZ is playing it on hardcore actually. I think he's level 96 at the moment, and he's using a Bloodseeker and a Soul Taker, so he has really powerful auras running his CI, and I think I never saw him skip any map mods, basically anything. He just out-leeches everything. Doesn't matter, even minus max. Nothing.
Was he
really
running
hurts.
dual strike or cyclone?
He's using dual strike. I feel, yeah, he's using dual strike.
Man, but that's the thing. So the claw the only time you've seen it in a high end game hardcore character is one as a stat stick, and two, you're not even picking up claw nodes. So it's
Yes, exactly.
True.
I'm gonna put it in my offhand because I don't even want people to see it in my main hand. It's just, it's so embarrassing. Your main weapon is not even a claw. I mean, you got to be really tapping into some of those leech nodes, and I don't know. Without a specific change to leech or improving its damage, I don't know what else they could do to buff claw. I would love to make a claw rebuild at some time, but I just don't think it's worth it financially.
You honestly need that end game claw with life gain on hit on it. The fact that a level 46 is the best life gain on hit because it's the faster of the two. There's a 48 one. I think it's the level 48 claw is 1.35 speed. And I think the tiger's paw is 1.5, and it's level 46. So obviously, good luck trying to find that in game. You're gonna be doing a lot of maps.
That claw that Dradar just
is it a tiger's paw? Is it a tiger paw?
It's a tiger's paw.
There
yeah.
you go.
And it's a tri-Ellie tiger's paw though, and it's super sweet.
But the fact that he had to find that and then spend tons of currency to make that, why isn't there an in-game claw that's 1.5 speed with life gain on hit currently in the game?
That's
well, even with life gain on hit, I think that's still. I still think it's you should be able to run a really good CI too. I feel like, I don't know. I'm not really a big fan of life gain on hit. I feel like energy and life gain on hit would be cool, but automatically you're holding yourself against using it with CI, and you're not getting any benefit. But that is definitely a cool claw that he linked.
So
What would be an interesting claw only skill? What do you think, Zeno?
no, I don't like making it that specific. Maybe making it like 3 or 4 different abilities, sort of like the claw, dagger, sword setup. If you make it claw only, that not until they change claw nodes.
I think that would inspire a lot of people. I think that would be a good fix to the weapon. Like wands have power siphon. That's exclusively a staple, like signature ability that makes it really, really cool and unique. I think maybe that's what it needs. Maybe a cool claw build.
Wands also have barrage, which you can use with bows. Power siphon, as cool as it is. Yeah, I guess you know what your comparison to power siphon is actually a pretty good idea. If they had a claw exclusive only build that was actually worth a damn, then yeah, I'd be pretty happy about it.
It was like
maybe some like
viable
Wolverine attack.
There are some positive with claws too. Let's talk about that OP the life leech wheel. If life leech wasn't in its current state, that thing is just insane. You get 12% life leech. The only flat ES node of the game. It's 20 ES. You also get physical damage and what's the last one? Attack speed. It's pretty damn good wheel, but it goes back to stage 1. Well, if I'm going Ellie and I'm using a Tiger's Paw, I'm not getting that wheel because, well, I don't need life leech, physical life leech. And then physical life leech, current state of the game, you either need Val Pack or Bloodseeker. Then that wheel becomes worth it. They just need a lot of TLC. They nerfed life leech without taking claws into consideration, I think, or maybe they did but didn't have an answer for it. And I would love to see claws get the recognition they deserve. A buff. What are your takes? Any other 2 cents you guys got about them?
The only time
I don't know.
heard of like a claw phase or heard of claws being used was a while ago. There was Elmo's Peacock claw build. I don't know if anybody remembers that or heard of that. Jess made a character, and it was like a pretty strong power charge on crit, cyclone claw build. Like it was very tanky. It didn't necessarily like one-shot everything, but it was really, really hard to die with that kind of build. Super tanky, super sustained. But I'm pretty sure that was before the leech changes, so it might have been that mana leech, the change to mana leech broke that build, not being able to leech like consistently or have the leech stack.
Yeah, mana leech is in a bad position right now. It's pretty much Reeve, low mana cost abilities it's good with, and that's about it. The gem is... No one uses the gem. They used to be kind of used. We did talk about that in episode 5 with Chris. He's like, yeah, we understand mana leech is in a pretty bad position.
It's a bit harsh, yeah. I have a feeling there's a change coming up with that. But yeah, the only time I've ever used a claw was with Blamped. Picking up a claw, Blamped is awesome. You get that life gain on it, you just feel like a champion.
Well, I guess that's one situation. Blamped.
Yeah, it's so isolated and...
Less than 1% of the game. Claws are good for Blamped.
Yeah.
You heard it here. Get a claw.
Uber taught me that one, actually.
All right, so claws. It's pretty obvious that there's very little positive compared to the negative with them right now, and we're all hoping for the best for them. So the next segment we're going to be talking about, let's see, you guys want to do physical or spell? It's up to you.
Spell.
I'll start with attack. Oh, okay, go ahead.
We're doing spell. Sorry, Hedgie. Take a seat.
I didn't mean to interrupt, sorry.
All right, Baker, you're up to bat. What are you talking about today in specific?
Me?
Yep.
Well, basically I'm talking about spells, so like comparing basically the scepters, daggers, and wands, and like just the uniques that exist in for casters and like trappers in general. Like I would say scepters, for example, got really popular in the latest league since well, you could use it with Righteous Fire in case they nerf it. You could use it or Yanis, for example, to get the LE damage up, or for DD, which is really strong. Before, I think they weren't used that much at all. So the Doriani Scepter is a really good one for a lot of LE builds. With daggers, I think there's the Divinarius that's pretty popular. Let me post it.
What's that other unique dagger? The one with ES on it. ES %.
The Heartseeker?
Yeah, Heartseeker. That one was big back in beta.
Exactly, for the culling, and like especially with like a low life spark totems culling, magic find, it was really good. Nowadays I think the last time I saw it, or I used it as a skin over my dagger on my low life
It's
spectral
good in
throw.
summoners too. It's good with summoners using arc.
Okay.
That's really
With arc.
situational though.
Yeah, but with the nerf coming, or like not nerf, but with the snapshotting getting removed, I think you can't afford that anymore.
Oh yeah.
Like you would have to get something for your specters in there. Yeah, heartbreaker. And yeah, and there are wands, of course, like the basic weapons for all the casters, for the real self-cast stuff, like freeze pulse, EK, whatever. Well, EK you can use staffs as well. At least in the past, they did a lot with the legacy combs. So yeah, the big difference between those three weapons, I mean, all of them can roll spell damage. And like, for example, wands can roll cast speed, which daggers and scepters can't. So that's a big thing for casters, I guess, where you have
Daggers
to like
can get, or
choose.
scepters can get cast speed.
Scepters can, yeah, exactly, sorry. But they can't get projectile speed, for example. And neither can daggers. So only wands can get projectile speed, which it was good for in the past, like for EK. For freeze pulse, it's amazing.
Incinerate. Oh yeah.
Incinerate, okay, yeah, of course.
Zalaris, yeah.
That was Alaris with his incinerate totems. You couldn't see anything.
He was
on
the
screen.
first. Yeah. He was one of the first to
think,
like
yeah,
gain high
definitely.
progression.
And he said it was one of the safest builds. He played dual totem incinerate, so I still think some people are doing it. It's pretty a strong. It's still a strong build, I think. But yeah, so the big difference between them is the mods that they can roll. But since all of them are also attack-based weapons, you have a huge mod pool. So it's really nearly impossible to get the right mods, and except if you have like insane luck or like really a lot of currency. And for trappers, for example, a dagger would be the best weapon, because you can get a dagger with like global crit chance, like 80% on it, like a slow one.
The Chris's, the platinum,
just buff
gold,
the spell damage.
all those.
Exactly, those. And like get really high crit chance, spell crit, I mean, and spell damage on it, and roll with that one. Scepters we covered already, with like DD being really... well, I have to say, DD really impressed me. I tried it out on my Witch to kind of, try a lot of builds for the next league. And I think DD has a better clear speed, actually, than my Spectral Throw. Like, even though I invested a lot of exalts into my gear, I think DD with, like, the cheapest 5-link Carcass Jacks build is way faster, more efficient in clearing.
In case you guys are
that's
wondering, DD
something-
is detonate dead. Sorry.
Detonate dead, sorry, yeah, of course.
I feel like that's
so
one
that
of-
is a... Yeah, go on.
I felt like that was one of the biggest problems with DD being so cheap and scaling with the map mods or the map levels. It's like one of the cheapest, most effective builds. And there are rumors that, people have been talking about it. I don't know where they came from, but community has been talking about an upcoming change to DD, or a possible one, a nerf. But I definitely think it may be warranted, just because of how cheap it is and how effective it can be.
I really like the idea. I don't know who brought it up, but with like the scaling of the gem itself, first of all, like, because everybody's using a level 1 with like 20 quality, because you don't benefit at all from it, so you don't have to get the higher costs of it, basically, which wouldn't be a problem because most people are running Eldritch Battery with it, and like Mind Over Matter, or yeah.
With
that type
DD
of
too, you get 60% cast speed, cheap mana cost because you don't have to level it, and you don't need spell damage
Exactly.
nodes. So really, what are you left with? Get tanky. That's it. You don't even need...
Exactly.
It's ridiculous. You get everything you
Gotta
need from that
survive.
level 1 gem. It's absurd.
Especially in groups where you have like, for example, I like that example. You had Pulp on the stream who did DD
Yep.
with Zalaris, and he was running like Grace and Determination. So that's something that buffs your armor even insanely high. Plus, you're running the highest possible Arctic armor.
And your mind over
And
matter, and
Mind
Arctic
over matter,
armor.
of course. And
It
so
just-
you're really tanky, and you do insane amounts of damage. So I feel like the idea that someone brought up was like giving radius to the levels. of the gem, so you have to level it to get a decent radius, and like reducing it in
That's
general.
good.
Or
So I really like that idea, for example, for DD.
when you level it, make it sort of like how they nerf Spectral Throw. Give it a damage effectiveness, so you have to level it up. Like
Okay,
at
yeah.
level 10, it gets, or level 10 or 15, it gets where it's supposed to be. But after 15, the mana cost gets high, but it'll give you more than 100% effectiveness. Then DD would really shine, but you would have to invest more into mana and more into mana regen, so you can't just run around with all these tanky stats. But
Yeah, that's how you know it's really good is when you're at the shop, thinking about what kind of auras am I gonna run? Well, my damage is so good through my gems and through the levels of the mobs that I'm just gonna put up defensive ones.
Yep.
That must be a really nice feeling. It's the same way with Righteous Fire. It goes in the same
Yes.
boat. You're so offensively oriented through the gems and the mechanics that you can just use defensive gems, which I think is good to have something that has, most of its blunt power within the gem or the combination of supports instead of the items itself. But at some point, it needs to scale. It needs to not scale or it needs to have like a flatlining of where okay, it's time to move on to something different or go crit or something.
let's go back onto scepters and whatnot. Obviously, daggers and wands are the two strong ones, where scepters are kind of Righteous Fire fodder, in my opinion. You get your +1, +2.
And DD.
Yeah, and DD. Your +1, +2, throw in a Purity of Fire, and then the elemental damage implicit helps you out. That's kind of the sad point about scepters. And let's talk about the crafting nightmare, that creating that perfect spell wand or that perfect physical wand. They kind of tie into each other.
Well, that's exactly the point that I wanted to bring up about those weapons. Like, the thing is, at least for casters, let's say, I played a lot of caster builds. I played Free Spools, I played Spark, I played... I can't even think about everything, like EK. I tried a lot of builds out. And, like, for casters, the problem is that as soon as Void Battery came, like, it was the, new kid on the block that just basically destroyed every other wand. Because... the stats on it, because you want to go crit usually as a caster anyway, to, like, for example, for Free Spools, you want to freeze stuff, right? So you have to go crit anyways. You want to get power charges. It gives you a power charge and it gives you a lot of spell damage if you have a lot of power charges in the end. And to craft a similar wand, I think you would be left with, like, I don't know, insane amounts of exalts. I can't even, quantify it, but like the glyphic roll, like which is the highest spell damage roll on a wand, is like the same possibility as getting tyrannical, and everybody knows how insanely rare that
Tyrannical,
wand is, for
oh
example.
my, yeah.
Plus, the next problem is, which you have in new leagues, for example, the glyphic roll is an eye level 79 only roll, so it's like one of the few items that have to be the highest eye level, or one of the highest eye levels. So it's also hard to get lucky on, like, items you drop in casual maps or normal, maps.
You think about,
Yeah,
like,
that being said,
you think about like a shield or crafting a chess piece. There's not that many prefixes or suffixes you really need to worry about. So eventually you're going to get what you want when you invest all that money into Eternals. Yeah, there's low end and high end rolls, but that there's not many rolls. Where you think about a dagger in a wand, do you think that they should implement, like, this wand can only roll attack base, this wand can only roll spell base? Like, do they need an endgame dagger and wands that do that?
I don't
it's a
think
good
so.
point. Well, I like the idea with the... I like that daggers have both possibilities, because
Cast
they're
on
so
crit.
strong, as we said, and not only that, but they are just so strong with the nodes that it should be a pain in the ass to get them,
Okay.
to craft them. So I feel that
Yes, I
bigger
agree.
mod pool is okay. But as you said, for wands, I feel there should be, like, at the moment, you basically can't craft a better wand than Void Battery within that range of money at
Yeah.
all. Not even if you get insanely lucky. Maybe.
Why dump 200 exalts for that perfect wand when you get a void battery and it's
Because, like, as we
slightly
said,
less
it has
as good?
it doesn't only have the huge spell damage, it has like 20% cast speed, which is like nearly impossible to get, and it has a high spell crit as well. So like
40%
it basically has
global
everything
crit,
you want.
right? Because you have 8 power charges, 40% global crit too.
Plus that, of course.
I mean, that's just insanity. I don't know.
The +1 power charge, yeah.
No. I
So if
just
you dual wield them even, I don't wanna.
Dual wield void
I
batteries.
remember getting like with Righteous Fire back then and Spark. I mean, of course it's nerfed and everything, but I'm just thinking as a boss killer, for example, you could still pull it off if you wanted to, for a short period or something. But whatever, I just reached like 15k Spark DPS or something, and like that's per totem, of course. So with dual voided battery, it was like insane. Yeah, same with freeze pulls or like you can do it with a lot of builds or EK totems that Unhost played actually.
If you run dual void batteries, you get 9 power charges, correct?
Yes.
Oh man, that's
Yes.
really
Well,
good.
no, you can basically get like wait. We have 3 on the tree. We have 1 from the bandits. We have 3 base.
So that's
so
7
that's 7
plus
and
2.
you get 9. Yeah.
That's really
I
really
think
good.
You could
I
get
think you
plus
could-
1 power charge on items,
Yeah.
but only on 2-handers. So
Yeah.
that's at the moment that's a good point. That's good actually.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean,
of
I
crit.
feel that making it easier to craft this, it was especially how strong like crit builds, not so much the spell part, but especially with the attack base, I think it needs to be difficult to craft. However, you have those saving graces, like we talked about, daggers. The good interim dagger until you get your insanely good rare, which is very rare, and is Beanos. You have Beanos and for wands, you have Piscators. That's which is an elemental wand. I'll go ahead and link it in chat.
The new one basically.
Yep. The thing is really
Yeah,
good.
but I think these items are a good way to start out your build while you're waiting for something even better. And they've both proven to be, very worthy, even in the end game maps and viable. So that, if your passion is wanding or if your passion is using daggers, you have something until the league matures and people actively craft and generate these items to make your builds good. So I think that's a good stepping stone item. And those kinds of items need to exist. But as far as making the uber perfect stuff, I don't think it needs to be any easier than it already is. Even though it's really, really hard.
It makes
obviously.
it more special.
Well, you think about staves. No one
exactly.
uses spell staves other than Searing Touch, and Tear and Shiver used to be like the go-to, but that doesn't. How often do you see people using that one?
Yeah, what the hell happened to that thing?
And it's just gone.
Just say EK Legacy Combs
Yeah.
back then. It was really strong.
Yeah.
Yeah, hopefully
Well,
we
it
see
goes
some.
back to-
Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, it goes back to what Baker was saying about stepping stones. Like Lion Eyes, as cheap as it is now, it is a amazing leveling bow once you get there and you're able to, do those, not end game maps, but the pre-game maps, like, 72, 73, 74. Like, it's phenomenal. It's so great for that type of build.
Exactly.
That's the problem with bows right now. Like, Wind Ripper or go home. Like, there's no better than Wind Ripper unless you have that godly Harbinger. That's it. And then you think about the wand or the Beanos. We need more of those uniques. Those, oh my god, this is so solid, but there's better. When you look at Wind Ripper, you're like, oh my god, this is so solid. I'm never
But it's
replacing
not
it.
better. Exactly.
Void battery is pretty rare though. Like, what about in between wand? Like, till you get to that point, like kind of where that new elemental wand is. Like that one's a lot more common. I
Well, you
think
have
On the
Moon
spell
Sorrow.
damage side, though.
I agree.
yeah,
Terry.
like
You would have Moon
the caster
Sorrow.
one.
Moon Sorrow. Well, I guess
Moon
with the
Sorrow's
arc
like
meta,
Kind of weak, but I mean it's a start-off weapon, especially if you're doing a lightning build like Arc or Spark, for example, in the past.
Moon Sorrow.
I mean,
it's 3 chaos.
To be honest,
right?
there's a lot of
Yeah,
rare
you could-
wands out there with high spell damage that, aren't the best, but it's still, great to level with.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, you got any other tidbits you want to talk about with spellcasting weapons, guys? I just think they're impossible to roll. And the same goes to the flip side. The crafting needs to be addressed, in my opinion. Like, I love
I
to
just wanted
craft,
to
but
add-
it's impossible.
Exactly. Yeah. That's the feel. I feel like your idea was perfect, where you said like there should be spell damage ones, maybe, or just maybe introduce more brackets that that it's easier to hit one of the higher ones. Not the best one in
Just up the chances,
specific, but
like up tier 2 and
well,
tier 3.
Either up the chances, but that would reduce the chances of rolling a attack wand, right?
Right.
So like, yeah.
I
If you
agree.
give more
I agree.
tiers, for
Bases.
example.
I think they need to make a segregation, like just an endgame spell dagger, endgame, or like maybe not endgame, like mid to endgame. That way, if you find a high level one, you can craft it into spell specifically. But I don't know. I just think there needs to
think
be
they should-
something.
I think they
Yeah,
should
because
bracket
basically,
the,
as you said,
Go ahead, Baker. I want to.
sorry, go. Yeah. Especially as you said, like as Hedgie said, you have Benos, you have like all the weapons where you kind of can do end game maps already with it, but you're waiting for something better. But with Void Battery, for example, you're not waiting for anything. Like you're done. There's no way you're gonna craft it for monthly. So I feel there should be the possibility to craft something better, because at the moment there's only one use, and it's PvP, where you don't want to build up 9 charges before you can do something. So
what about
or 8
what about
charges.
separating the drop chances of the like tier of daggers? Like for instance, if you go to weapons, you go to daggers. No, not daggers. Sorry. Where's wands? Damn.
Wands.
Yeah. I'm trying to find them. There. Okay. For instance, like Driftwood wand can only drop in these level zones. These types of wands can only drop in these level zones, and the certain tier affixes can only be crafted on these types of wands. For instance, T1 can only be crafted on Prophecy, Tornado, and Imbued. T2 can be crafted on everything. For instance, like you change the chances per bracket.
It just goes back to the same thing. Like, think about a physical wand. All right, if you find an eye level 79 Driftwood wand, it really doesn't matter as if it for a spellcaster. You could craft whatever the hell you want on it, and it would be pretty funny. Like, but you think about the highest, 1.5 base wand for physical. You want to craft that one physical because it has the highest damage, and that's where the separation needs to be. Or maybe make a wand with no physical attack damage, no elemental attack damage. Period. It can only roll spell damage stats. Like
Exactly, just Sado in the asked exactly that question. Like spell wands and fizz wands, as you said. If you just remove those stats and like make them, just only roll spell stuff, and maybe not get the tier 1 things, for example, as Gangster suggested, or like lower them or whatever.
That's a great idea.
And like for example, introduce a new wand that doesn't have spell damage as the implicit, but has, for example, I don't know, either life leech or anything that's good for power siphon, for example, or even
spell
like 10
life
physical
on
damage,
hit.
or
Please spell life
or something.
on hit.
That'd be cool.
No, that would be crazy.
Sybil's rest
Just like
in
life
peace.
sprig. Or like life on cast.
Wand base is like there's the Prophecy wand 1.1 attack speed, and then the Imbued 1.5. So like what you're thinking is maybe have the Imbued more focused on attackers, and like the Prophecy on casters, whether or not it favors certain stats or they can only roll certain stats. Just have like a line between the caster weapons and the attackers for the same base.
That's legit.
Yeah, I get
an
kind of
option.
scared.
Why?
I get kind of
Hedgie?
scared because I feel like while I deem it's necessary for spell, but I like this attack and the I've had a lot of experience crafting wands. I've alked thousands upon thousands of imbued wands, so I've seen and I've created a lot of monsters just by alking them and not even just like basing them from the ground up. And I feel like the power creep with attack-based wands, it's still very, very high. And if it's so easy and so common, then I think a lot of people will just run the build because it's so efficient and
Well, that's
effective.
the thing, Hedgie. No one's running the build because it takes forever to get that wand. Physical wands, they exist, but they're so rare and so expensive. Not everybody has a standard stash tab full of exalts, buddy. I want to play that build, but I can't because I'm poor as hell. I want to
that's what I
craft that
mean.
wand.
That's why I think the solution is to have the interim, the stepping stone uniques. Leave the crafting system, the way it is. I mean, that's just how I feel. I mean, I can see
Stepping
how you guys,
stone unique physical wand? Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
That I'm agree with.
Yeah.
Bless that shit. Oh.
Exactly.
Mhm. I mean, I made an attempt to make one. I don't know if you guys remember, but I was proposing either a staff or a wand because I felt like the need for these items until you get your rare. There's just no reason to go to the build until you can actually find something that's worth going crit. And the staff and the wand are both areas that lack that really strong reason to go crit.
So the last one, seeing how we already talked about the crafting nightmare of staves, wands, scepters, and daggers, let's talk about the physical aspect of wands, staves.
Or attack based.
Excuse me,
Yeah.
the attack base, Hedgie. That's what you're covering today, right?
It's impossible.
Yeah.
Tyrannical is the worst thing to try to go for.
It is definitely like a huge endeavor, but after having an experience where you crafted probably about 6,000 imbued wands, I just picked up every single eye level 75 plus, and I alked in and I recipeed it, 5 of a kind, re-rolling it. I did craft some, I want to say one out of every 600 or 700, I would craft a decent physical wand. And by decent, I mean like 140 top end damage with crit chance. Not even saying attack speed. And I have made some pretty crazy cast on crit wands and some pretty crazy spell wands. But I feel like, the addition of a physical wand is definitely needed. We saw Piscator's Vigil, which I'm a huge fan of. It's a good interim wand, but it's not nearly the best because, in an elemental build, you want to stack attack
Edgy?
speed. You want to have great attack speed, which is imbued plus the crit chance, and then anything elemental is added bonus. You can get flat stuff, and it'd be amazing. But I felt like I wanted to talk more so about wands before and after Spectral Throw, because I felt like wands, their role in the game was they were going to be the crit ranged build along with bows. They to me were like the strongest crit range. But once Dagger Spectral Throw was introduced, those builds kind of get shadowed. Their roles kind of got reversed, and it didn't really make sense to me because daggers can do everything better than wands. But before what's it called, the multi-strike Spectral Throw came out, it was just very, very in a good place, and I felt like the dagger notes were balanced. But I don't know what they can do. I've talked a lot with Kaisaren. He's the low life wander that's killed Uber at Siri, and he's talked and complained a lot about how wand nodes don't even, stand up to dagger nodes. How do you guys feel about wands versus daggers and their role in the game?
Well, first off, daggers, there's so many one-handed melee physical damage nodes and melee physical damage nodes. Wands, it's just wand damage or projectile damage, and projectile damage is like 8%, whereas the one-handed melees are 12 with attack speed. I mean, there's so many good hybrid physical damage for melee or one-handed weapons. And then you look at, we go back to wands, there's accuracy, there's attack speed, wand damage, and projectile damage. And projectile damage is so inefficient. I think they either need to boost projectile damage in the tree to make wands better, or give them buff their nodes somewhat, because that whole top
Only
part of the
near
tree.
the wand people, though. I wouldn't boost it down below, like Duelist and
Oh,
area.
yeah. Up in the witch tree, I'm talking. Give, boosted projectile damage with wands, for example.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Wand specific.
There's
so
increased
your
wand
solution
damage
is
for power charge.
Yeah, that's like one of my favorite ones, the Fusillade node. But so you're saying the solution is to bring wands closer to daggers? Is that what you guys are suggesting?
I think nerfing in an action RPG does less good than it's intended. Nerfing always puts a salty taste in people's mouth. In an action RPG, you always want that feeling of being godly. I'm so strong, look at me. Where when you nerf that build goes rest in peace, look at Cleave, and it just gets, smack gets talked about it. Instead, why don't you buff the things that need to be buffed and get everything on the same playing field? Because you want that overpower. Go ahead. You want to add on to that, Baker?
Oh, no, just in general. I feel like that's what's happening after every 4 monthly lately. And since I'm a guy that, as you said, I love to be the stronger one in the RPG and just destroy stuff basically in maps, so do damage. After every 4 month league, I can just trash the character mostly. Basically it's nerfed to the ground, or
exactly.
I just can't do the build anymore. So I feel that's also driving away, maybe, well, not driving away, but it's it's not really good for people that like to finish that character, for example, after playing Ambush or Invasion, want to get to 100 in hardcore, or just finish the character, basically. And then, it's destroyed, basically, and you can start over or buy new gear, and you have to go through the whole new stuff. So I feel there has to be something done where they don't have to, over-nerf builds. And as we said, with effectiveness and stuff like that, maybe they can fine-tune it better and, give us the changes at a slower pace, not drastical as it is at the moment.
Nerfs always make people upset, and I understand in some games you're going to need a nerf. Look at Crown of Eyes, everyone's screaming nerf, except for the people playing it and loving the hell out of it.
Exactly.
But it's gonna happen eventually. Sometimes nerfs are good, but when there's a build that just isn't up to snuff, instead of nerfing other builds to bring it down to where that build is, why don't you buff that build? I think the whole top part of the witch tree, there's so many things in there. You're just like, wow, I would never get this. the freeze duration is so situational, or when they're done. Like let's talk about that. All right, there's 2 freeze nodes that extend the freeze duration by I think 15% each, and then after that, there's a node that after a mob is done being frozen, it's now chilled. So let me get this straight. You want me to freeze the mob longer so that I could kill it while it's still frozen, but in the event I can't, it's now slowed. It just seems counterproductive, like that whole wheel, or the Gemini wheel, the accuracy wand, dual wielding. Like, why? Just give me some more projectile damage nodes. Something that makes you think, wow, this is great for an elemental wander or a physical wander. I would love to see more nodes like that, or an easier way to get up there.
Aside from Fusillade, like there's nothing for wands that's like, oh, you can go wand and use this, or that makes you excited about. Like that's like looking at the nodes, they're all pretty underwhelming. Like they're 8% increased damage or LE damage with wands. Like that's just 8% projectile damage, or even like less physical damage applied from that. I feel like overall they could be like tuned up quite a bit to maybe be brought up to par in more than one way, whether or not it's with damage or like some other functionality, just to make them performing a bit better, like from the passives.
I tend to disagree a bit because I feel like bullying and those nodes scale very well.
Those
and
are good
you
nodes.
can do some pretty crazy things. Like they're unique because they're the only nodes that are like added fire or added lightning and added chaos. It gets a portion of your physical damage and converts it. But the big problem with that is warranty. Like you have to have enough damage so that your nodes become more beneficial to you, and that gap is very, very huge. So that part is very seldom seen or traveled to because of that reason.
All right, and another thing, Hedgie, getting up there. Let's talk. Getting to bullying.
Exactly.
There's 3 ways to get there, and there's just a bunch of int with a bunch of filler nodes on the side, which are just like ignored, and then there's the one going through the power charge, and you're just like, or that 20% mana node right there. That node's great. You want to get in a lot of builds, but you have to go through the dang power charge. There's no accessibility to that top part of the tree. Or even the Whispers of Doom, like you have to get those 3 fluff points. Oh, cast speed for curses. You're like, what? Why would I want that? I don't know, things like that.
I think those filler ones are definitely needed because that node after the dual curse node is very, very, very powerful. So I don't mind spending the 3 to get there because that node is godly. When you're able to run two curses, it does wonders for what you can do in a map or in PvP or anything like that.
But you have to get up there, and there's just a million int nodes or going through the power charge. That's like the problem.
I have to say on Hedge's point, like just in general, curses are way underrated at the moment in the game. We're running on hardcore a lot with Cloudly, who's playing a quad curse build, a support build basically, and like with his curses, I guess you have to see to like really understand what I'm trying to say, but like the damage is not only like 100% more or something. It's insane. Plus he can freeze every boss with it just because of the temp chains, the frostbite, and so everything that worked in Nemesis where everybody was freezing the bosses, he can still do just because of the curses, because they are so strong and there's no mitigation to anything. Even if you curse 5 curses, you still have the full power of each one. So I think they're pretty underrated. So I feel those 3 points over there to just waste them, that they could be blank points basically, are fine.
So
I got a question about curses.
All right, go ahead.
Do you think that they should instate to where if you're like, say you're a quad cursor, each curse you stack lowers the effectiveness of the previous curses on them to make it not as OP?
That would be a coding nightmare, I would think.
I don't think they should do that because you should be rewarded for having the gear to get 4 curses, or
it's not that hard
corrupting
to get 4 curses.
Well, you have to wear a ring that, with all honesty, is only used for the +1 curse. Or you would have to corrupt the neck, so you lose your implicit stats, but that's the really beneficial one. The boots and Whispers of Doom. So really, like, you should be rewarded for getting quad curse, because chances are you're not going to be doing anything else other than cursing or running Pulling Strike.
Freeze mining, quad cursing.
Yeah.
You build that way, or if you put in the time to like curse, put up 4, then like it's fine to me. I don't think everybody wants to put up 4 curses, but if you're in like a party, it's more understandable. But if I'm playing solo, like I don't really want to even put up 2 curses most of the time.
You don't even want to put up 1. I've played with you.
That's like the point. Like quad curse, of course, that's a party build and just a support build, as you said. You can't do anything else. But just the difference between like do a immune to curses map on a detonate that character, and then do one with like 2 curses where you just put on the ring, or you get a +1 on your neck, which isn't that hard anymore.
What is it? Flammability, vulnerability? Is that usually the wombo combo with
Or yeah, if you don't want to reflect yourself too bad, or else you can just use ally weakness flammability to wreck stuff if it's not a reflect map.
True story. Doesn't Enfeeble nerf the amount of reflect damage you take too? So you can always use that.
Yes.
Yes, because it directly goes off of the damage you dealt. So if your damage is nerfed, therefore you're taking less.
No, I mean
No,
Enfeeble on the
what
monster.
he meant is No, that doesn't.
It doesn't? Okay.
No.
You get full damage. Yeah.
Bummer.
Because the reflect is based off your damage. So if you have Enfeeble on you, then it's less.
Yeah.
If not, you get the full damage.
But why would you? It's like counterproductive.
Didn't you? Wasn't it? I recall Baker stream. There was one guy who was playing that support freeze miner. Was it Baker himself or that somebody
was
died?
Cloudly.
It's like, oh my gosh! I watched that guy rip.
Oh no.
and-
Oh, that back then when I died, you mean? With the
Was it
freeze
you?
miner in the cells map. In the 1
Yeah,
week.
it was like everybody was blaming PK. It's kind of like if you choose to be that support character, you're like responsible for your party because they're playing recklessly and carelessly. They're like just in coast mode, going from room to room, being like having everything under control. And you slip up once, and then one of your mates died. So that was you that died. Who was the freeze miner that was there?
Back
Cloudly.
then that was no, that wasn't Cloudly in the 1 week. That was Zeros. Zero's the guy that did
Zeros.
Uber
That's
with
what it
Havoc.
was.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
basically fell asleep or something.
The life of
Why aren't
support.
you doing
Mine
your
for a
job? I just died because you fell asleep.
Because the
It's
thing
like-
is, like everybody was like, yeah, standing in front of them on what was it, truck ground, and I'm like, yeah, guys, but we did like 100 maps that day, and everything was frozen, so it doesn't matter even if I stand in lava as long as I don't take damage, because everything is frozen. I wouldn't change anything, so it was just unlucky that they got unfrozen. Is what, as you said, you get used to a certain play style if you're playing with such a support.
That's the
Yeah.
problem
Which
with
is, of
support
course, your fault
characters.
as well, but you
They
don't
do
think
no
about it.
damage, but they're always first to get blamed because they do nothing other than like boost the hell out of you. It's like blame that guy, support. It's just like in any MMO, screw the healer. It's the same
Didn't
thing.
have the
No, it's
cursor.
just like when I died. I blamed the cursor because he put Ellie weakness on the mobs. I was like, what the fuck?
You
Yeah,
made me
Willie-
take
Willie
more
died that
damage.
week, too. In precinct.
Oh, that was
a
terrible
fruit week,
week.
Ellie week. Yeah, he definitely ripped to that double curse. Like that would, they did not need that much. Their DPS is really good, and it was a reflect map. And I mean, that's just double reflect with double curse. You're not gonna live.
Temp chains
Sorry.
and feeble, screw it, just play it safe.
But yeah, I felt like when we had like Vanilla Poe or however you want to say it, Wanders were the go-to people. They had Power Siphon, they had Culls, they had Conduit, and they had insane amounts of damage and freezing and status ailments, and they were like godly. Shortly to get overshot, like they moved Conduit, which was warranted. I think you can't be so offensively oriented and one of the best supports to have in a group. I mean, feeding your group constantly with charges was insanely powerful. So I definitely think that was warranted. But then we saw Spectral Throw being introduced and then Daggers taking over. And then I felt like Bows and Wanderers got left in the dust to be like, what happened to our job? Our job was, bringing the ranged crit deeps, and now melee can do it better than us. So that's kind of where I
Spectral
feel
throw,
like,
man.
yeah, that gem completely changed the way this game is in part of like the roles. Like when you're just thinking about action RPG, you're thinking of melee mechanics and ranged mechanics, essentially converting your melee character into the strongest ranged character. And on top of that, having a shield so that you have the defenses behind it to deal with whatever you need.
Well,
Like
Wands
having
get
the
that
shield
too. Don't even pull that one. Wands gets shields
Right.
too.
But I'm saying, like, where's the two-hander love? Like two-handers are, sketch. You can't swap to your what's it called, Rise of the Phoenix, or your Aegis Aurora, your Lion Eyes, or your Wrath Pith. All those great shields that are
Horrendous.
just cookie cutter for the situation, can trivialize an encounter. A two-hander person is going to always have to deal with those elements, and
Well,
where's the love?
That's just where block is in the game. Like you think about two-handers in other games, like they're really solid, but in this game, two-handers, it's all about block. And even staves, they can give a block, but the block nodes are just really poorly placed. There's not enough of them. You can't. It's hard to reach block cap without like anvil or that 15% block helmet. I always forget the name of it. One that got nerfed into the ground. But that's a whole nother story. It's just two-handers need more defensive, two-handed weapons in general. Why don't we just talk about them? Yeah. Two-handed weapons just need love.
They do, for real. But also, their damage scaling is awesome.
Well, the best two-handed weapon, I would say, was probably two-handed swords, mainly because spectral throw, but sword nodes...
The attack speed as well.
The attack speed is insane. You can get a good amount of accuracy, so you don't have to invest into resolute technique.
Implicit accuracy.
Yep. So swords in general are like the go-to two-hander, obviously. Crit, very low on them. Crit two-handers in general is very low until a certain unique comes into the game. But that's a whole nother story in itself. I just think two-handers just need so much love.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, just the shield is so underrated, and it does so much to completely nullify a lot of threats. I mean, we've seen Aegis Aurora being...
What was it, Baker?
You would say underrated?
Yeah, I feel...
Underrated.
Yeah, like, when you're comparing them versus two-handers, like, wanting to use a decent one-hander with a godly shield or using a decent two-hander and just foregoing the shield option. I feel like it's pretty much a clear-cut choice which one you should do. Like, disregarding PvP or anything else. I just feel like two-handed or just melee abilities in general, you have Molten Strike. It doesn't even matter if you can one-shot a mob. The fact that you have to go up to the mob, Molten Strike it, and then run up to the next mob and run up to the next mob or leap or whatever, while a ranged person can just, spectral throw and pierce through the whole thing and just clear it in one go. That's kind of like what I'm talking about is the love for melee.
How about this then, Hedgie? Right now, two-handers, if you roll elemental on a two-hander, you just laugh. Like, come on, let's be honest. It's physical or go home if you're going to play a two-handed spec. If you have Tri-Ellie two-hander, you're like, well, it's too slow. I might as well use a one-hander because I can get a shield and more attack speed. Because you're using auras as is. Yeah, and secondly, why don't they make it so two-handers maybe make certain two-handers not be able to roll elemental damage, period? You could still run Atriot Added Fire, things like that, but just make it so it's easier to roll that high-end physical damage on a two-hander. Secondly, why don't they introduce maybe a parry mechanic of some sort? Because that would help out with the whole block craze with the shield. If you were able to parry, maybe that would change the meta completely of two-handers. You think
that's a good idea.
Why don't they just make the nodes?
The nodes, like further specializing in two-handed or like maybe specific two-handed nodes, like how there's like bullying and adder's touch, like for wands and daggers, maybe have some like kind of keystone that really gives some kind of utility or buff to two-handed weapon or like a specific two-handed weapon. Maybe like a bleed, like on hit, like 10%, just like some kind of keystone to give more incentive to specialize in a two-handed weapon.
That's a really good idea.
Fluffy said something
boost the
cool.
damage. What was that?
I really like the idea with parry, as you said. Like that would be cool. Or like what I thought would maybe be a cool idea, like just like the what's it called, the pain attunement roll, like getting a roll on two-handers that's like 20% more attack speed or something like that applied to your
that's
skill.
legit.
Something like that.
A multiplier.
Roll on two-handers.
Put that like behind resolute technique or something. That'd be awesome.
Good call, Baker.
Well, not only a node, but maybe as a roll on the weapon itself, because they're so slow. Maybe add it as something to craft a good weapon, or I don't know.
Maybe like corrupt.
But as a node as well, it would be really good. Like a real multiplier node for two-handers where you go Ellie or something like that.
It's funny because if you think in a realistic standpoint, you got the staff. It's made of wood, but you could block with it. Okay, so you're telling me if a monster's got like a two-handed sword, I'm going to block with this piece of wood, but I can't parry with my sword? Come on.
Exactly. It's a good point.
You see all these epic
Fluffy
movies.
said,
ping.
Fluffy said two-handers could use some sort of a buff that dueled and got maybe like plus 20% armor evasion per node, like per like physical two-handed node.
That's actually a really good idea.
A lot better for scaling.
Yeah, but in what RPG does it make sense that a sword is going to give you armor?
Swords.
Unless it's got a magical aura or something that gives you more armor.
Or
I
another
don't know.
suggestion, right now bows have quivers. Why can't two-handers have like a sheath with just a stat stick on it? Something like that.
Jeez.
Yeah, man.
Sheath.
Isn't that what it's called? Isn't that what it's called?
It's funny.
And
Yeah,
then you get
but
to wear it
that's funny,
too.
though.
I don't know. I think some sort of stat stick would be really good for two-handers as well.
Yeah. The thing with block in general, I feel it's a bit, even with the nerf to Aegis, it's still a bit too strong. I feel in general, the
yeah.
whole mechanic is just blocking 75% of everything is, I don't know.
On top
And
of
like
your evasion.
completely, of course,
blind.
on top of all you have, exactly. So, I feel there has to be some change coming to that because you can't just address it by nerfing Aegis every time by 1% or 2%.
Yeah, that's not the
it's not like
solution at all.
To be honest, I thought Aegis won't get nerfed. That's why I didn't buy a lot back then. I thought they would do something to block in general because I felt that's the only way to like really address the issue on long term.
What about a cloak? They need to make cloaks.
No, they need pants. Screw cloaks. Give me some pants.
Pants. Yes, sir.
Tired of seeing my
my.
Templar in underwear.
Them legs.
All right, so this concludes our weapon discussion. Hopefully, you guys liked it. It was supposed to be more informative and open-ended. If you like the way how this podcast was done this time, let us know. Before we go into the question and answer section, you guys could still keep asking questions. We got about a half hour left. When the podcast is over, I'm going to take down the stream and bring it right back up and give out 5 microtransactions donated by Grinding Gear Games. So stay tuned, guys. All right.
Oh, and mine.
Oh, and plus 2 more from Baker. Baker's going to give away his 2 that was given to him. So we're going to give away 7 after this podcast to all of you guys that are watching. All right, so the first question we got here today is from ALL12 at all. What do you think of the chances of rolling a 6-link, and how many have you gotten in the 4 months, if any? Gangsta, I know you wanted this one. Do it.
Yeah, I do. I don't know if you guys saw the video, but when I first came back to the game, I rolled split arrow. I was sitting there. I had the weakest gear possible. I had, 20 jewelers or something, a fuse, and some armor scraps. So I jeweler this armor evasion hybrid. If somebody could find the video, that'd be awesome. But I jewelered this armor evasion hybrid up to 6 sockets, and I'm just sitting there, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to try to link this, and I armor scrap it to 20%, 1 fusing 6 link. And it was the only fusing I used on it, and I freaked out. And then I can go to the other side of the spectrum. I spent 900, or I didn't spend, me and a group of friends spent over 900 fusings on a lightning coil, did not see 1 5-link at all. And I toss it to a friend, and he puts 12 fusings in it, and he gets a 6-link. So I think it's very chance oriented. Like there's no math to it. There's no, hey, if you do this, it'll be better. It is very, very random. So
RNG's.
yeah, Chaz just linked it right there. So
How do you guys feel about like the power, like the amount of currency you spend versus getting that extra link? It's really, really significant, especially in a lot of builds. Not so much other builds, but like the majority of builds, that getting that extra link just makes your character. How many? Like, what would you guys say the percentage? How much, more powerful it feels?
All right, so
makes your character.
6 links as a whole.
the reward.
I was always one of those
Yeah.
guys. I'm never going to get a 6-link, so every build I make is going to be 5-link oriented, and I'm going to find the 5 best gems for it. But once you get that first 6-link, you can either sell it or trade it or whatever, and you could just keep snowballing your 6-links. So really, it's insane. It's complete. You need that 6-link. Like I feel like once you've used a 6-link, you can't go back to the 5. Like you just can't.
That's what I wanted to say too. Yeah, that's exactly the point.
Yeah, it took a
'Cause,
while for me
if
to
you
get
got
my
used
first
to it-
6-link.
Yeah, but once you get used to it, you don't want to go back ever on any build. Like basically, you're always like, meh, I could do more damage.
Yep. You're playing
Or-
your 5-link before you get a 6-link. You're like, man, my damage is freaking 15k. I'm happy. And then you get your 6-link and it's like 26k, and you're like, this is what I've been missing out on this whole
Or your damage
time.
13K. 13K at your 5-link, and then your 6-link would be life on hit. And they're like, hey, look, I'm safer with the 6-link. Like,
Everyone's done that. City of Sarn. You're like, this is my build, but I don't have a 6-link. And let me try it with a tabula rasa, and you're just going around feeling all godly with that 6 link, and
Oh,
you're just
yeah.
like, man, I want this.
Yeah.
I want this now.
Yeah, exactly.
That tabula rasa, man.
Well, when it got
Okay, then.
introduced, I was so happy for testing out damage and stuff back then.
The next
That's
question, Legacy of Kane, he asks, if you could add one type of orb in the game, what would it be and what would it do? Who wants to start? that one?
Remove random stat.
So an opposite of an exalted orb.
Opposite, exactly. Remove random stat
And
from items. So for
unexalt.
instance, you
That's
get
what
that
Cloudly
amazing.
always say.
If you get that amazing piece that you find and it has like that +4 mana on kill, you're like, fuck that stat. I want it gone. Boom.
That's cool.
Exactly. Eternal unexalt. That's the perfect.
If we were to have an orb, it takes a random tier roll and increases that tier roll by 1. So if you have the second best roll and you want the tyrannical, and that's your only tier 2 mod, boom, put it in. It makes crafting easier. It would be extremely expensive, but it would be worth your investment. You would save on Eternals. It would lower the price of Eternals. I think overall it would be a really good orb.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I would like to
it's
see like.
level out the economy better.
Go ahead, Terry.
I've talked about it a bit, but it's similar to Xenos, but just an orb that rerolls all the items, the tier rolls, just rerolls them all, randomizes like
All,
the tier.
yeah.
Oh,
So
all-
it's like a
all of them?
divine, but it can rearrange whatever
Yeah.
tier
Uber
they are.
divine.
Rearrange like all the
Uber
tiers. of the-
Uber divine.
That's a pretty good idea, Terry.
I would like to see like a prismatic roll where it would change the resistance or the implicit on the ring. So say you had a lightning or topaz ring and you use the prismatic orb, it could roll it into a fire, ruby, or something like that. But something that would change the elements of the implicit to what you want.
That's so specific, man. That thing would be worse than a blessed orb. It would just
Yeah,
rot
that's
there
way-
forever.
Really?
Yeah.
I think there's too much currency then coming. Like if you say, okay, you want that for that, you want like a 2-stone that gets rerolled into another 2-stone, another orb and stuff like that. I don't know. I feel we have a lot
'Cause-
of orbs and it's pretty overwhelming for new people already. So they have to be really tactical about what they introduce probably. I mean, it's a good idea. I mean, actually, when I think about it, with the 2-stone, so your orb could actually do that as well, for example, and like cover a lot of things in the end. But
Or
still,
what about something that like picks up the stats and puts it on a different one, like an insanely rare item that you could put it on a base. Like there's so many times I find like, and back to what I was saying, like it wasn't the resistance I need. I need all the explicit mods, like both prefix and suffix, but I didn't need the resist on top. I wish it was just slightly different. Like
What
how do you
about
guys
like
feel
an
about
orb that changes
picking
weapon
up the
base?
stats?
Change weapon? No. Well, I guess I had a shield that was godly, and it would have been cool to change the weapon base, or the shield base, but it's like really, whatever.
it's for,
No, like say you got a slow wand that's high fucking physical or like LE damage, and then you want it on something else, so you roll it to the 1.5 speed slot.
All right, listen
Am I
here,
cussing too
Mr.
much?
Potty
I'm
Mouth.
sorry.
You have a great idea, but quit cussing.
Anyways, these are all hypotheticals. Anyways, just fun. So Jackal78, he asks, do you think guilds should have a lot more spots by default to increase finding people to play with?
Yes, I have a guild full of viewers that has 240 positions right now. It started off with, 20 members? And I've had to get that many donations from people. And I never asked for them. People are just like, here, man, we want more people in the guild. And you think about it, we've probably put at least, $200 into the guild just to have more slots. It's crazy. I think there should be more
way too
default
much, yeah.
slots. It's just
Yeah, I'm in the
ridiculous.
same position as that. Guild spots, they're expensive, and they haven't been on sale in a long time.
Also, I think in general, like at the moment, it's not that much needed that you can say, it's really competitive with guilds and, you want to be in a special guild and they can ask you for a fee to join and stuff like that. I feel it's so casual at the moment. I don't know why they make it like so hard to get as many people as you want in.
Oh, yeah, and there's
So-
not enough things for guilds to do either. Like, I want some freaking...
Exactly.
Capture the flag, guild
nothing-
versus
no point,
guild.
basically.
Definitely need
So,
more guild control.
On the subject, real talk, Baker and Gankstaboo, you guys used to have this bromance going on back in hardcore. What happened? Like, what's up these days?
I don't know. I mean, Baker, I want to hear your side of this first before I state my side.
Okay, so well, it was a good time, but I remember when Gankstaboo basically died, and I was grinding as hard as possible. I think you went to play some Onslaught back then. Um, and yeah, that kind of drifted away because I was, staying in the hardcore league and trying to finish my character there. And like he went to the new league. We were still talking, but just you know how it is with two map groups in one channel in Mumble. It's terrible. So
Yeah, yeah.
kind of got
I want to
lost.
elaborate on that a little bit.
Uh-oh. Please, no
I said
drama.
this the other. No,
I'm
no,
just
no, no,
messing.
no.
I'm just
I said this the other day to Zeno. Um, you know, me and Baker were super, super good friends. Like we hung out every day. I mapped with him for hours upon hours. I knew shit about his real life that other people didn't know. He knew stuff about my life that other people didn't know. And it was that type of
Wait,
relationship.
whoa,
But
hold
it
up.
shows.
Are you about to propose?
No, 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 no.
All right, all right.
It shows that in this game, it's very drive oriented. So, for instance, who has the maps? You're gonna map with them. You're never gonna see each other IRL. You're never gonna hang out. We are online acquaintances, and that's just the gist of it. Yeah, love to do the death, but I don't feel like it could get any farther than that. I got best friends that I play with, in real life, and we'll sit there and level together. They'll die, and then I'm sitting there, escalating the ladder, and I don't talk to them ever. They're just like, "Hey, bud, what's up?" I'm
Exactly.
like, "Hi," and then I keep grinding. That's just it shows how I don't or yeah, it's just
All right, what he's trying to say is he wants to play with you again, Baker, but he can't because he doesn't have the manliness to just ask you out on
Wow.
that date.
I feel it's but it's a really good point that you brought up because I feel with the introduction of Atziri and Uber Atziri, I felt when they announced it, when they said, there's gonna be 50 spots and everything, and Pulp and me and Cloudly and we got together and we're like, yeah, we're gonna get this in the first 2 weeks, we're gonna grind. We did all the bosses on hardcore, we know how this works. And it was completely different because in the end it was a solo competition and not a group
Yep.
effort. So I felt that's another thing where it drives people away from, like, back then I came home, I joined Mumble, probably Gangsta was here or anybody was, people were there. We just hang out in a channel and I asked for an invite to get into maps. That's how it worked every day. So it
Yep.
was basically that social thing where we met every day, basically, nearly, and hang out and talk and
Do you
talk
guys
shit
think
even.
that you guys gonna play in the next 4 month or 1 month league together? Let's hear it. Get Pulp up in there
Sure.
too.
I'm
I
down.
hope so.
Man, I'm sure people would love to see that stuff again. There's not enough of that old school love like there used to be.
We can pretty much agree that this game, the social aspect of the game is goal oriented, and when you share the same goals, you're gonna be playing with those kinds of players. And then when those goals fall off, or say your goals change, or you want to do something else, then I guess the relationship or the interaction kind of fades.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Let's go-
it
That's some,
becomes more acquaintance-like and not friend-like.
Right.
Let's get the next question going. The next one's by FDX7. Hedgie, do you think EK is going to become OP with the new Echo Gem? Or do you think the damage reduction will be too high for it to become as good as everyone thinks it'll be?
Honestly, I didn't know that there was a damage reduction, but if it does, like I kind of want to see other spells shed some light with this Echo Gem, and I'm really happy that Ball Lightning's coming out, something new and different. But double EK, I think, may be really, really powerful in PvP. It may bring it back some in PvE, which is cool. I don't know. Without knowing the specific scaling and specific stats, I can't really give you a definite answer. I think they need to be very careful on how it's going to work and how it's going to scale. But I'll just
Spell
leave it at
Echo,
that.
I'm calling it now. Stormcall and Incinerate. Stormcall, it already feels kind of slower paced, but now that you can spell Echo it, and then Incinerate, if you get 2 separate stacks of Incinerate, oh my god. It's going to
But if
just cream everything.
It might be good to
Ball
Stormcall,
lightning.
but as long as they go like on the same spot and hopefully not around each other, like on different monsters.
All right, Terry, you want to get the next question?
Podley says or asks, is there any playable in late game build without getting? Wait, Ginks already kind of talked about this. Gucci Gumi at all thoughts about the new lightning ball skill?
Ooh, I have thoughts.
Do it.
Faster casting, slower projectiles. Boom.
With GMP.
Yeah, I
Maybe
feel
like nether tentacles.
Oh, GMP.
I definitely
Basically my
am
spark back.
Yeah. I definitely feel it's awesome that when they introduce new skills that benefit off of supports that are never used, and slower projectiles, that needs some love and that needs a place in the game. But I'm super excited that Ball Lightning and something different is coming out in the spell realm.
That's slower
You guys
projectiles.
remember nether tentacles
Oh man, nether
from
tentacle.
D3?
Oh yeah. That's
Oh,
exactly
yeah.
what
So
it is.
as it was passing
Yeah.
through the target, it was doing damage constantly.
The shotgun effect was
you know,
real. Oh man.
Exactly. Yeah. The ball lightning and just run up to somebody and just shoot like 16 into them, and it's still inside of them.
That's the slower projectiles is key on that one, without a doubt.
And of course, Vault, as we said earlier.
Well, I hope they didn't change it from projectile.
it.
I really hope they didn't.
Oh, I don't
What do you guys think
so.
about trappers? Like trapper with ball lightning and slower projectile. You get that
I've
multiplier.
thought about
It's already
I've
on
thought
top of them.
about, yeah. I've thought about doing a PvP build and trying Ball Lightning Trap. I don't know how scary it is, but I'm pretty sure people will be able to get away pretty easily.
Oh yeah. It's definitely more PvE oriented, unless you put faster projectiles on it, but then you deal less damage.
Hipfire asks,
Oh.
at all, when rolling daggers, bows, and quivers, what are the most important stats you look for on these items while leveling, endgame, and crafting?
Physical, or excuse me, attack base. I think attack speed, crit is like everything. Obviously, if you're elemental,
Really?
you want those. Crit.
I feel like crit
You need the
and then
crit.
attack speed.
Well, yeah,
'cause-
crit then attack. I didn't specify any order, had you? Crit is
well,
everything.
yeah. Especially when you're struggling and with getting leech. Like attacking faster is also going to make you spend more mana. And if your leech is not good already, you're better off just getting crit, heavier hitting, and then going. I mean, attack speed is very, very important. I feel attack speed is more so important with elemental based builds when you're, solely relying on your auras to keep up with your, momentum and your damage. But physical base, I definitely feel crit exceeds attack speed in most cases.
You think about like Beanos. You look at the physical damage roll. You're like, okay, this one's 220 DPS and this one's like 235. You're like, who cares? What's the crit on it? Oh, this one's 10.2. This one's 9.5. I'm going with the 10.2.
Yeah.
That's crit.
That local crit scales everything. It's very important.
Mm-hmm.
All right, what's the
Really?
next question? At Gangsta, why isn't ROA viable anymore?
Because I died.
Slash thread.
It's just scary. It's a very scary skill. They made it. They basically stated in a thread that it will not miss. So therefore, it's. I think it's viable with point blank. I think if you use it correctly, you base your build around it. It's extremely viable. I think people are just scared to play it. And that's the gist of it. I feel like I could roll Roa and jump in and be just fine because I've lived the death, like.
Well, why
it
don't you do it
happened.
with your Voltaxic build you just were hyping up? There you go.
I think I'm going to do that. Power charge on crit, Roa Voltaxic.
Get point blank,
CI.
be a man.
I think that's going to be amazing.
Put on your big girl panties. I mean, you can do this.
I think Akira did Voltaxic Roa, and he said it was pretty strong. Like the problem with going Fizz or like anything that can reflect yourself is that it's just one hit. It's just like frenzying something, and that's probably what destroys it. Because Split Arrow, you have chain, you have everything, you have multiple targets, so it's way harder to kill yourself with it. That's the problem with Roa, right, Gangsta?
Yeah, I agree.
Where Split is just a bunch of little hits and life gain on hit, etc., etc. But
Yeah, exactly.
Well, also
Vol-
it's a great single target thing too.
oh yeah.
Yeah.
I barely had to use Frenzy with Roa because Roa was just so OP and the damage leached from it was awesome. I remember doing double Magira and just getting them next to each other, hitting both of them at the same time with Roa, and I could live through 2 firestorms just piling on top of me.
All right.
I
How
then-
do you
have, I have to
feel-
also say,
Go ahead.
I have to say, I think since Gangstaboo's stream back then, when he played Roar with like the swapping and leap slamming around and everything, and being like in the face of mobs all the time and like really aggressive, I think I've never seen a better bow play style since then, to be honest.
Oh, the
It
bromance
was so
again.
fun to watch.
Come on.
No, but seriously. So I really hope you do the same thing with the Voltaxic CI guy. Just this aggressive playstyle on bosses and like, you know what
CI
I
will
mean.
be scary.
Everybody who watched, knows what I mean.
All right,
Yeah, I was
Baker, you want
basically
to
like
get
a
the
melee
next
bow
question?
person.
Sure. Podley is asking at all, is anyone wondering about Mjolnir, I guess? Sick weapon that is obvious. Is the drop of it, is it good? The prices over 70x are good, of course, or what? Maybe it should be more available, or should it be nerfed? I guess that's the quintessence. Yeah.
You want
What do you
to
think
kick it
about
off?
Mjolnir? Sure. The thing is, I didn't really try it out, so it's really hard for me to say anything too specific about it. But I feel the spot it is right now is pretty good by the drop chance at least, because I remember a lot of people think it will get nerfed and they're trying to buy it on hardcore, on invasion, and basically on every league, and it's pretty impossible to get one. So I think the drop chance is kind of in a good place for such a strong item. But other than that, I can't say much about it, to be honest.
Yeah, I completely agree with Baker. I feel like, with its rarity, the main thing I like about Mjolnir is that it brings back Lightning Strike, something that we just never see anymore. But completely bringing back Lightning Strike on the scene, it was very refreshing. I mean, it's been a long time since like pre-Spectral Throw or whatever, very early on, February to March last year. We just never see Lightning Strike anymore. So I like to see old abilities make a comeback. And whether it be unique or a keystone, definitely is a huge plus.
Well, the thing with
What do you
Mjolnir
guys
that
think?
it's really, really strong, but reflect. Yeah, you can go Sapphiles, you can go Purity of Lightning, all that goodness, but really the reflect is, until you're at that point where you're not going to kill yourself, it's hard to use in hardcore until you get to that point, Also, the thing with Mjolnir, too, is you get a 6-link, and then you get the 3-link within Mjolnir. It's like a cast-on crit without cast-on crit, It's 50% flat. You have your 6-link with Lightning Strike. You could put whatever you want in there to make it more damage or more survivability, and then you could put whatever you want in your Mjolnir to do the extra damage. I wouldn't call it a 9-link, but really it's just, I don't know, you're using one ability to make another one come out, but you could still run life on hit with it. You can boost up your Lightning Strike damage. You could do a lot of different things. I do expect it to be nerfed. I do suspect it to be nerfed, even though I really don't care for nerfs in this game. It's probably going to happen.
It's really build enabling, and like what it does, it's super effective. But like other build enabling uniques, you kind of need like specific requirements to get it to function. I feel like it's very strong, but you do have to meet like those requirements in order to get it to function like effectively.
Yep.
Exactly.
It works well with Iron Will,
it's
too.
basically it's the same spot as Voltaxic for me. Like, if I tried out Voltaxic back then in Nemesis, and like I didn't have all the crazy crafted gear and everything you need for it, so my damage was pretty mediocre or even terrible compared to a Lionized CI character that I played earlier. But when Solaris does it, for example, he has all the perfect gear for it. Basically, he all crafted himself, and the damage is insane. So it's like it's expensive, and it's really, really strong with like barely any downsides once you get to that gear level. But to get that is like nearly impossible. So I feel they should be rewarded for it. It's fine that way. I don't feel like overpowered uniques should be nerfed as long as they're not, just like as the Atiri gloves. You just strap them on and they're OP for everybody.
Oh yeah, those.
So that's maybe something that's too much, but like, as you said, a Mjolnir or a Voltaxic where you need insane synergy in your gear and passives is fine that way.
All right. Next question's by Jace, though. It's at Baker. Is Freezing Pulse dead?
Oh my god, I get that a lot. Well, to be honest, as we said I don't know if we said it in the podcast actually or in the pre-show, but I feel with the leech at the moment, Freeze Pulse is pretty much dead right now. It's hard to sustain the mana if you're not going EB, and even if you're going EB, the mana cost is really high actually. So, and it's a lot of things that come together. So Freeze Pulse is basically really hard to pull off, especially low levels. Like in races, I think nobody does it anymore because like all the fire skills are better. Yeah, I hope it gets revived with the next patch or when
And the
Echo comes,
problem,
maybe.
the problem isn't even Freeze Pulse itself. The problem is Spell Leech in its current state. The nerf to Life
Leech,
Leech
exactly.
was meant for physical damage users, but it affected everybody. And the same thing goes with Mana Leech. You know,
That's the point that we tried also, like, or that I thought with the effectiveness of Leech. Like, if you give Freeze Pulse, let's say 2.5 multiplier to Leech or something like that, or not even, but something comparable. Because on gear, it's really hard to get any like any cold Leech. You can have it on an amulet if you're lucky
or
as
the
fuck.
Adsiri belt, but
Or the
1%.
belt, exactly.
I mean,
That's it, and that's 1%.
and the problem with Spell Leech too is you're using GMP with Freezing Pulse, and it's the highest damaging hit for one of those projectiles. So you're actually being punished for dealing more damage with GMP rather than just using one single flat one.
That's why Freeze Pulse is even harder nerfed than, for example, EK or skills like that, in my opinion. Like with the Leech, I mean, just because of those projectiles you have.
What if they adjusted it so it was all the leech from like a single cast instead of like the single highest hit, but you cast?
Well, that's what it was before.
Well, then Discharge would be playable again, a lot more playable, because right now you have this huge pack of mobs and you discharge, and so, well, the damage I did to this one skeleton was my highest, so that's the only leech I get, rather than everything. It's pretty much Valpack or go home, and then Valpack got nerfed, so it's just an endless downward spiral for leech right now.
Yeah, they really have to address that issue. Just in general, spellcasters are really in a bad spot, I feel, compared to what they could be.
The introduction of Sybils was really nice. I would like to have like a keystone behind like some sort of... I mentioned this earlier, like a spellcasting keystone that just only benefits self-casters. And behind that would be spell life on hit or spell leech. Something to reward the player for self-casting and to give you spell hit. So rather than just always defaulting to Sybils when you're Incinerate, you could find another alternate way to do it. You can get that projectile speed wand or projectile speed for Freezing Pulse. Something to benefit spellcasters.
Yeah.
All right. Next question is by Race QT at all. What do you think about grinding gear games making different attribute weapons? Same way daggers are different from attribute requirements. And for the rolls to work similar to colors and chromatics. More attribute requirements equals higher chance to getting the roll related to when crafting. So basically, like if the dagger requires more int, you have a higher chance of rolling a spell type effect or mana type effect. But if the dagger has more dex, you can get more attack based stats on it. Is what I think he's referring to. What do you guys think about that?
I think this is touching up on what we were talking about earlier. We're having like assigned stats to specific bases, or like having like two different wands, one more focused on the caster stats and one focusing on attacks. I think it's an interesting concept, like a way to add maybe more depth and maybe a bit more certainty when you're crafting. If you have like the desired base, you kind of can maybe like favor that particular stat that you want more. So it's interesting, and I think it could maybe be a bit more friendly to crafting.
I'm going to be completely blunt. That is one of the best ideas I've ever heard. You have a dagger that has 200 dex requirement, which is way too high. And then and then it also has a 50 int requirement. Therefore, this dagger is more attack based. It has a higher chance to roll attack based stats. And then on the flip side, if you have a dagger with 20 int and then 50 dex, it has a higher chance to roll those mana, spell damage, spell crit stats rather than the attack base. That is a great idea. Screw up counter-rise. No, he's talking weapons specifically.
I have
That's
some
basically what we
with...
said earlier, right? With just having different wands.
I was just like all or nothing. Just have a wand that only rolls spell casting. But his suggestion is pretty damn good.
But that suggestion, exactly, I like that one better. Yeah,
than the one
amazing.
we had.
I have some experience when I was creating my diamond unique, and I was trying to play off of, the strength and the int mods off of staff. And, when I talked to Nick, who's the designer, he said that I wasn't allowed to interplay. I know these aren't stats necessarily, but I wanted to do multiple charge interaction. And by that, I meant red for endurance charge, the strength roll on the staff, and then power charge for the blue int roll on the staff. But they didn't like the combination or having the stat inflict on what they were able to do with, or what they were able to achieve with it. So I don't know. I think they're very reserved, and I don't know that it has too much meaning other than the amount of colors and its position in the tree. Like, I'm not exactly too sure, but I don't know if they would go for something like that. I'm really curious on if they would be keen on something like
I
that.
would love for him because that's the whole thing, the whole Magic the Gathering, green is Dex, blue is in, that whole stats, everything revolves around that. And if the weapon has higher of that stat, hypothetically you should roll higher chances of things related to that stat. That's a genius idea in my opinion. And take the genius off my name, put it on a raise QT. Let's do that.
Okay. The next question is Jasetho. At all, what if max block percentage is lowered to 65? I think that's way too harsh. I think if there was going to be a nerf to block, it would have to be very minute. They'd have to test it, maybe 5% at the most. But I don't think 65 would be doing it.
I don't feel like the block chance is the problem with block at the moment. It's more the thing how the mechanic works. Like just maybe an idea to not mitigate all the damage or
Yep.
Just give any like bit of a drawback to blocking still,
Make it
Well, you
so
still
at the moment the
stun.
only
it's not. Right now it's
Yeah.
all or nothing. There's a stun. Oh no.
yeah, exactly.
You can easily
yeah.
get block recovery capped, no problem, in the game. It's just too effective. It has the same. It's better than evasion. Let's be honest. Evasion, you have entropy, you have chance to hit. Block, it's either you block or you don't, and that's what makes it so strong. The fact that a whole stat exists, evasion, and there's all this crazy formula involved, a chance to get hit, and then block, you have a 75% chance to not get hit now. It's kind of ridiculous.
I don't know. I think they're pretty balanced as far as like the thing with block is that you can convert into spell block, and that's what evasion struggles with. So I think maybe something to deal with the spell aspect among evasion builds would put it in a really good spot. I think personally, block is okay, and I'm not just saying that because I love block, but its role, it just has a lot of tools that makes it really good, like certain items that will give you a severe advantage, like the Rise of the Phoenix and Saphils and all that kind of stuff. Those are the ones that really make block shine. Aegis Aurora, but we've seen recently Aegis nerf, Saphils nerf, and that was the reasoning behind it.
All right, last question. At Xenocide, do you think claws will ever be effective? In all honesty, the best way to make claws effective is either buff life leech again, or make it so claws are not affected by the life leech cap. And I think that would help out claws drastically, and also create a high life on hit claw base. Right now, the best one's a level 46 one, like I said earlier, and that's just too low. But that's all I really got. Yeah.
I really feel like a gem would go a long way, and if the quality was like additional life leech or increased life leech or something.
But that
like
gem
something
would be
unique.
the only time you use claws. Reeve still exists. You have all these abilities that you can use with claws, but you're not going to because daggers are better. You need.
Well, it needs to be good enough to warrant using it.
That's like saying I'm only going to use wands because power siphon. Really, but barrage still exists. Barrage is actually really underrated. There's a guy that has achieved 200k DPS with barrage. Elemental, you can ask Terry. Barrage is like a hidden OP. They just need to bring claws up to snuff. Alrighty. I think that's about it, guys. Do you want to say anything in closing? Gankstaboo Baker?
Thank you guys for showing up and giving us the chance to, state our opinions on stuff. I'm honored.
Yeah, I wanted to thank you for the invitation. I'm really happy to be here, and I'm looking forward to meet a lot of the people in chat again on my stream soon.
Well,
Yeah, definitely.
Speaking of stream, are you coming back, Baker? I think they want to hear that.
Yes, sir. If everything works out as planned, I will probably start streaming this week. If not, it will be next week. So, starting from not tomorrow, but Tuesday, hopefully. If not, it will be next week.
Better see some crazy hype right now.
Looking forward to that.
All right.
Stream, if you get a chance, go follow everybody. Terex7,
Go.
Hegemony TV, Baker Live,
the stream.
Xenoside Genius.
Yeah, don't worry about following.
And
Follow these guys.
Gankstaboo.
These guys have put forth
And
a lot
moi.
of effort. Please check out their stream. They're good guys. They're here for you, the community. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. I love you viewers out there. I love this community. We need to keep getting it better. Podcasts like these, we only want to strengthen the community. That's it. Thanks, Grinding Gear Games, again, for donating these microtransactions. We're going to give them out today, and thanks for supporting our podcast and watching it. Again, thanks, Twitch, for allowing this to happen. And We're out. See you later, guys. Yeah.
Well, this game is
you
free
guys
to
later.
play. Don't forget.
Oh, excuse me.
Download it on Steam.
Download it on Steam, pathofexile.com. Free to play game. That's it. It's free to play. Come enjoy the fun that Path of Exile has to offer you guys. Thank you again for tuning in.